Hello and welcome to the Capital Area Theater Show. I am your host, Jeremy Patterson, and with me today is local actor, director, theater ensemble founder, and educator, Caitlin Graci. Hello, Caitlin.
Hey, Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I couldn't be better.
Thank you for sitting down and talking.
Thanks for having me.
So, while we're here to talk about the Bare Bones Theatre Ensemble, I'd like to give our listeners a chance to know a little bit about your background.
What would you like to know? Holy cow.
Well, how did you get started in theater?
Well, I started dancing with the Central Pennsylvania Youth Ballet when I was really young. I'm going to say 7, 8-ish. I danced with them for years and years and years. Then I found out somewhere along middle school that I could sing, and I was that little girl with a big old voice, so I started doing musicals like you do, and started taking private voice lessons. And after that, I did a whole lot of community theater and, high school musicals and all that kind of craziness, and just really fell in love with the whole thing. I went to college for theater for a little while and then moved to New York, as you do, and yeah.
Okay, so to step back, you said you were with the youth ballet.
Uh-huh.
And you said somewhere along the way you discovered you had a big old voice.
Yeah.
How does one just suddenly discover that and not know that? Were you a shy and quiet child who suddenly sang very big like the girl in Sister Act, or?
Yeah, no, there's absolutely nothing shy or quiet about me ever. No, it was one of those, I had always kind of liked singing, but it was never really something that I thought you could do. So, which is completely insane when I think about it. My grandmother honestly pushed me a little bit more than anybody else. She actually used to have her own radio show when she was younger. She sang on the radio in Philadelphia. And it was one of those, crap, she's got talent kind of things. And so I just started pursuing it a bit more. My mom, who is really just the best human ever, said if I was really very interested in it, that I should probably get some voice lessons. And that was around the 7th grade. So I got my first voice teacher. Her name was Kayla Renz. And she's just this magical human. She was really, really leery to take me on as a student, though, because she never took on younger people. But I called her myself, and I said that I wanted to go in for an audition with her. So she took me as an audition, and I went in by myself. My mom sat in the car and had my audition. After everything was done, she said, "You just sit here. I'm going to go chat with your mom for a minute." Okay. So I was thinking, oh, this didn't go well at all. But she went out to the car with my mom, and she goes, "Well, if she's ready to do it, I'm ready to do it. Little girl, big voice." So I was really lucky, though, to have her as a teacher, because she made me learn opera. Okay. So I am very much a trained opera singer, which I thought I would hate, but I truly learned to love. I got to study some different languages and things, which was really, really cool. And she always said that the musical theater stuff was like the dessert at the end of rehearsal. So I would always get to do one fun song. Now looking back, I mean, it's kind of the same idea as with dance, that ballet is kind of the foundation of every other bit of dance. If you can do ballet well, you can do a lot of other dance styles. I think singing, if you can do opera and do it well, other styles are just so easy to pick up, and it's a lot easier to learn that way. So I got lucky. I got really, really lucky.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then you said you started doing shows in school.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those shows?
Oh boy, like middle school shows.
Go as far back as you like. Jordan talked about his first middle school show.
I did. So middle school, we did Bye Bye Birdie, and I played the floozy. My parents always made fun of me. I always got cast in these really like kind of horror roles when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, no. So Bye Bye Birdie, that was eighth grade. We did a show called Live a Little. You know, all these like kind of crappy one-off shows, but that were a lot of fun. In high school, we did 42nd Street, and my favorite year, where I got to play an old Jewish woman that I'm like desperate to play this role again, but it's probably going to be another 30 years till I can actually play it. What else did we do in high school? That's terrible. Guys and Dolls. I don't know. I started studying a lot of Shakespeare when I was in high school too. I got really bit by that bug. I had a couple really good teachers that kind of pushed me in that direction, and I love it now. But a lot of my musical theater education came from doing. I worked with Theater Harrisburg for a long, long time. Tom Hostetter was a big mentor to me, who was the artistic director there for ever and ever. But I did my first show with them when I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
I did La Cage aux Folles, which was awesome to come home and tell my parents that I was going to be a girl playing a guy playing a girl. And my dad just went, yeah, okay, sure you are.
So that story is like Victor Victoria, right?
A little bit, yeah. But great people. I met some amazing people through Theater Harrisburg and did, just piles and piles of shows with them. And then after I moved back from Manhattan, one of the reasons I moved back was because I really wanted to start directing. And they were the company who I started directing with.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So we'll get there.
Yeah.
So you go from high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then you decide to continue on
In college.
And talk to me a little bit about your college experience.
My college experience started in high school. That's a weird thing to say, but how they have the Capital Area School for the Arts, they didn't have that when I was in high school. They had just phased out like the Arts Magnet program,
Okay.
and it was before CASA started, and instead I was in this kind of limbo year that they didn't know what to do with us. So instead we went and there was a whole group of us that took classes over at Harrisburg Community College. And that was a crazy awesome experience. So we took classes at our high schools, like our respective high schools, for the first half of the day, and then after lunch we would go and take theater classes. And I will say, the professors at HAC are some of the most fantastic theater professors I've ever worked with. Dave Olmsted, if anybody out there in podcast land ever gets the opportunity, he is a great teacher. Brenda Ebley as well is really wonderful. They have a really good program there, and it is really personalized and really, really one-on-one. So I went to HAC for a year, and that was cool because we got college credits for taking these courses and stuff, so that was great. But then, my senior year, I auditioned for several different schools, and I ended up getting a lovely scholarship to Point Park in Pittsburgh, and I went there for what I like to say was 13 minutes. But it wasn't necessarily for me. And after having a really, really long heart-to-heart with my vocal teacher there, like my private vocal teacher, I decided that I was going to drop out of school for a while and go and do the auditioning thing and struggle for a while, I guess, with it and see how that went, which honestly, I think, looking back on it now, many, many years later, I think it's the absolute best move that I could have ever made. So I ended up doing a show out in Nevada for a little while, and then I moved to Manhattan and started doing a whole lot of theater up there and working and, being poor, and it was great. I loved it. I wouldn't trade any of that for a second.
Wait, so, okay. You leave school after 13 minutes, and you said Nevada.
Okay, so the Nevada show was actually it was such a weird thing. There was a company here that Sharon Hilligus ran, and I can't for the life of me think of what the company is actually called. That's terrible. Anyway, she heard that I was coming back into town. I had never done anything with this group before, but they were doing a Burt Bacharach review.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was a 4-person show, and it was out in Laughlin, Nevada, and it was a hell of a great time. It was one guy and these 2 other girls, and they were all extraordinarily talented. And we went out to Nevada for a while and did this review in a casino, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and then I moved up to New York, and I got really lucky. As soon as I moved to New York, it's like a month and a half later, I ended up getting cast in a production of the Rocky Horror Show that ran for about 8 months at this regional theater up there. And yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm well on my way. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, I moved to New York, and here I am. And
Who were you in Rocky Horror?
that time, I've been in Rocky Horror many, many times. That show, I was Janet.
Okay.
So 8 months of being called a slut is a time.
Well, that goes back to, like you said, one of your first roles when you got to play the floozy in Bye Bye Birdie,
Always,
right?
always. I don't know what it is that casting directors see in me. And they're like, well, that's the girl we need for this role. Oh, boy.
Well, maybe it's because, like you started off saying, you've never been shy.
I've never been shy. That's very true. That's terrible.
Okay, so what comes after Rocky Horror?
After Rocky Horror, I started working with a couple of different schools up in New York and started choreographing, which the only reason I felt competent doing that was because of all the work that I did with the youth ballet.
Okay.
But yeah, I worked with a school that was right near my neighborhood. I lived in Spanish Harlem. And then I also worked with another group in Long Island and started choreographing, and I loved that. But my personality, the way it is, I decided that I not only wanted to choreograph, but I really wanted to direct. So that's when that whole idea got planted. I got to do another regional production while I was up in New York. We did Jesus Christ Superstar, and I got to play Mary Magdalene, and that was awesome. That was another brilliant group of people. Really neat director who I still keep in touch with, not as much as I should, but awesome experience. That show ran for a little while as well, and so I was up in New York for about 4 years, and I worked in a bunch of comedy clubs, which was amazing, as a bartender, not as a comedian.
Okay. Have you ever done stand-up or anything of the like?
I've never done stand-up. I write a lot of sketch comedy.
Okay.
And I've always been really, really interested in stand-up, but it terrifies me. So that tells me at some point I'll probably give it a shot, but I'm a little too scared of it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do your 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come back because you have the urge to direct.
Yeah.
And you have a connection with Theater Harrisburg.
Mm-hmm.
Do you come back and immediately start directing?
I came back, and about a week after I got back, it was a scheduled thing that I had a big sit-down meeting with the artistic director, the executive director, and the tech director at Theater Harrisburg at the time. And I got to pitch an idea for a show, and they really liked the idea. So we took off running with it.
What was the show?
The Wild Party by Andrew Lippa,
Okay.
which I think is one of the most stunningly beautiful written shows I still have ever seen. I love it.
Now, 2 things.
Yeah.
One, that's when I first met you in the green room of Theater Harrisburg while we were working on Dreamgirls.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I painted your face for that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You taught me how to do my makeup.
Yes.
And then, number two, there's a debate in the musical theater community about the Wild Party because there's two versions of this.
And do you know that both versions were going on and off Broadway in the same year?
I did not. So please, okay, take it away.
There are two versions. I personally, because I'm so close to it, like the Lipa version so much better. But the show is based on a poem. It all happens in the 1920s, and it's just this gorgeous time period to set a show in because there's so much decadence going on, and people don't think that anything bad could possibly happen. And it's literally right before the floor drops out on so many people's worlds in so many ways. But the Wild Party is this crazy group of people that all meet up one evening and have this just raucous party, and by the end of it, everything goes to shit. There are just some great storylines in it, though. The whole show centers around these four characters. Queenie, who is this slightly washed up vaudeville star, and her lover, who was a vaudeville clown who just has all sorts of crazy demons. And then Kate and her very new lover, Black. And it's these four characters that within one evening, of course, because that's how musical theater beautifully is, their lives get completely, woven together, and there's a murder, and it's beautiful. The music is really, really great, and I couldn't have been luckier with the group of people that I had for that production, for like my first big production. They all just really rallied around me, and that's when I got so excited about the idea of an ensemble theater. I did this show sort of in the round, but in reverse. So I had 4 stages, and the audience all sat in the center, and the action took place all around them and through them. So it was kind of, the audience was part of the party. And it was just a really different experience, and that has kind of catapulted into what I do with my company now, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, sure.
But it's such a cool thing to me to take a full group of people and not say, oh, well, this person's the star of the show, and this person's just in the ensemble. That always makes me cringe when someone says that they're just in the ensemble, because there's no small actor, that kind of thing. But yeah.
Okay.
The Wild Party.
So you pitch that as your first show.
Yeah.
And then you go in and do that.
Yeah.
And then where do you step from there? I mean,
well, so from there, the next show that we did with Theater Harrisburg, we did a little review, which was kind of thrown together, but was super fun. It was, I think we called it like the most irreverent cabaret or something to that nature, but we did a lot of like gender bending and just really goofy, non-traditional shows, and that was a lot of fun. I joked around with everybody in the audience that I said, I feel like we're at camp right now, because it was just this goofy group of people that just these huge voices, and we were all singing just these bizarre songs, but it was a great time. And then the next show that I did with Theater Harrisburg was Tick Tick Boom.
okay.
Which was written by Jonathan Larson, who also did Rent. Tick Tick Boom was really the only other show that he had. It actually got produced after he had passed. And it's fairly autobiographical. So there are 3 characters in the show, and the main character, Jonathan, only plays himself, and then the other 2 characters in the show play about 20 different roles. And I think the reason that I chose that production was because I knew what a challenge it would be to have these 2 characters playing all of these different roles, and it was so cool. Just coming up with all the different mannerisms and how we were going to, without doing crazy costume changes or, putting on wigs and things like that, how we were going to make each character stand out. So it was really, really challenging, but a really neat experience as well. And I got to meet and work with one of my favorite music directors in town, working on that show, who's David Glasgow.
Who you can hear on episode 2 of this show.
There you go. No, I think the most humbling thing, especially when I started doing these kind of shows, were the people that would come out and audition for me that I have loved and respected so much. And as a younger female at the time, it was a very humbling thing to be put in the director role, and just how beautifully these people worked with me, and how we worked with each other. I love that. It's one of those things. Once you start directing, and anybody that wants to do it, I highly recommend, because it's a crazy ride. But from going from acting or dancing in a production, and then all of a sudden you're responsible for every soul that is on the stage, and all of your crew and everything, and once you get to sit back and just go, oh, that's like a dozen of me on the stage. That's bizarre and creepy and wonderful all at the same time. It's a very, very cool thing. Yeah.
So, obviously you liked what you did, because you've kept going.
I have kept going, yeah.
So what happens after Tick Tick Boom? Because the theme has been continuously, I'm going to challenge myself, and if I don't feel it, I'm going to go find it.
Yeah. So I started acting quite a bit more after Tick Tick Boom. There were some changes in the staff at Theater Harrisburg, and the shows that I was doing there, they kind of considered like a nightclub series show, and we were doing them all at the production center. So this kind of weird space that wasn't actually a theater, and I could set it up any way that I wanted to, which was very enticing to me. But they were going in a little bit of a different direction. They were looking for much more family friendly shows at that point, which is perfectly wonderful and fine. So I decided that I was going to start acting more again. So did a couple of shows. I actually got to be in a show with you at that point.
Yeah.
Which was so much fun. We did Rent together.
Yeah.
And I was playing a 19-year-old when I was 27, I think, at the time. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm 28 now. No, I'm just kidding. So that was a lot of fun. But went back to, like, I'm going to, go and audition for stuff. And I had gotten married at that point in time, so I was doing the whole family thing. But then, I'm trying to think where we are now. About 3.5, 4 years ago now, I decided I really, really missed directing, and I had wanted to start my own company for a long time, and I was so desperately sick of being out in bars and hearing constantly from the people that I was hanging around with that there was nothing to do in Harrisburg, which I think is utter crap. So when I was coming up with this whole idea of the Bare Bones Theatre Ensemble, it was that I wanted to produce and direct shows that would be relevant to the 20 to 50-something-year-old audience, so the people that are out in bars all the time.
Yeah.
And I figured, well, shit, what better way to do that than to do shows in bars? So my initial sell for these shows was always, hey, if you hate the show, you only spent X amount of dollars, which you would have done at the bar anyway. And P.S., you're at a bar, so you can go drink your face off. So that was like the initial draw to it. And I have been just so stinking lucky with the people that have come out and auditioned for me, and the amazing support of the audience that we have built up in the past 3.5, 4 years, of people that just, they don't seem to really even care what the show is. They just want to support what we're doing because they always know that it's going to be something very different and a little crazy, and not something that you're going to necessarily see anywhere else in this area. And it's worked.
Okay, so to step back,
Yeah.
we had met during Rent.
Yes.
And in the episode where I interviewed Jordan, he talks about the fact that around that time we discussed that you had a little gathering and discussed the idea of Bare Bones with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Was it from your time as an actor that propelled you to say, nah, I'm not getting what I want, or was it just I want to fulfill both things? Because we have a lot of talented people in the area, and we work.
We have extraordinarily talented people in this area,
and we worked with an amazing cast, and the director was the very late great Mark Arner.
One of my very best friends. Yeah.
So it's not like you haven't been in good company.
Oh, no. I don't think it's that at all. I think a lot of it, I like the idea of, I guess the biggest thing is that a lot of the shows that I was very interested in were not being produced like to the level almost that I wanted them to be done. And I do think it's kind of sad, and I think that we're getting away from that now in this area, but I think that we've had this kind of old boys club in Harrisburg for a long time, that if you've not been working with different theaters and you haven't been directing forever, that they really don't want to work with you. So I kind of said, well, to hell with all of that. If I have a show that I really want to do and people that want to work with me, why not do it myself?
Yeah.
And I have found that there are a heck of a lot of other people that have felt that way. And the thing that I love about Bare Bones is that we have so many people that are not, and don't take this the wrong way, that are not just acting, but they're now doing a lot of the production work, design work, promotions work, all of that kind of stuff, that got into it because they wanted to be on stage and they wanted to act and they wanted to do these things. But there are an infinite number of things that you can do with theater, with any sort of performance.
Yeah.
But there's so much opportunity, and I think that the cool thing is, if you're not finding the opportunity that you really want, frankly, you can go out and make your own opportunity, which is really, I guess, what I've done with the Bare Bones Theatre Ensemble.
So sorry.
It's all right. We're playing with a dog.
yeah. My dog, if you've heard in the background, it's a running theme of, I don't know what he wants. It's attention, but now I gave him food, so hopefully that holds him over.
He just wants your love.
Well, he has that.
Both of my parents have been in shows for me now, which is unbelievable and hilarious all at the same time.
I did a show with your father. We did the full Monty at Theatre
Yes,
Harrisburg.
you did. My father did not actually.
No, he was not one of
the full Monty.
we were two of the not naked guys.
You I think were the two non-naked guys.
There was like two other ones.
Were there? Oh. They obviously didn't count as much. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, so for the Wild Party, my father was actually half of a gay incestuous couple. That was interesting to direct.
How did you pitch him on that?
Oh, it was a time. And not only that, I'm like, hey, Dad, and everybody will be in their underwear by the end of the show. Great. Well, my parents met doing theater when they were sophomores in high school, and they've been together ever since. It's sickeningly sweet, and they love the life out of each other.
So this is in your blood.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. No, but my mom was actually just the mother and the principal in Hair, and my dad played my dad in An Adult Evening of Shel Silverstein. So,
Aww.
yeah. Oh, he was a horrible father in that show.
No.
Yeah. He got me a pony and killed it, as every dad does.
He's a great guy in real life.
He's a perfect guy in real life. Perfect guy. Oh, that's so funny. I don't know how we got on my parents exactly, but hey.
It doesn't matter. They're great people.
I think you're just trying to skirt the idea of playing Sally Bowles. I get it.
Okay. Call your dad. Say, Jeremy says he'll play Sally if you play Cliff.
Oh, that would be the most delightfully mismatched nonsense I've ever heard.
It'd be adorable.
Adorable. He seems a little old to play Cliff, no?
Okay, so you don't have the dream roles.
Oh, I don't. I'm sorry about that
That's
too.
okay.
I can't tell you how many people ask me about those kind of things.
Are there shows outside of original shows where you can say Cabaret is a perfect example?
Mm-hmm.
Now, from knowing you, you are very quick to eschew, like you said, the regurgitation or the this is how they did it, so this is how it's supposed, quote unquote, to be done.
Yeah.
You've always been quick to say, oh, well, that's the iconic thing from this. Well, let's take that because it doesn't have to be that. It's a Fosse show, which is one of those. He's one of the four names that you can say, this is this style.
Very true.
And, even with a show like Hair,
mm-hmm.
where it's the idea of the tribe, you stepped away from the traditional, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
And then with The Graduate, same thing, where it's like, well, you would expect everybody to just go, okay, and now we will ape the Simon and Garfunkel, and we will ape these scenes, and we will ape these tones. And you said no. I mean, it's iconic because of the material, but that doesn't mean that we have to do it that way. And now you're moving into a show that has not had one iconic production, but two iconic productions.
So there's the original that everybody, the movie is what everybody originally thinks of. So Liza Minnelli, Joel Grey, which is extraordinarily different from the stage production.
Yeah. Cut out all the non-club songs, right?
Yes, to a point, and the storyline differs as well. But then you have the 98 revival is pretty much what everybody kind of looks to now. And the same director actually remounted the show just a few years ago and changed up a few things. But Alan Cummings has been the staple. He played the MC. And I was fortunate enough when I was living in Manhattan in the early 2000s that I got to see the show several times. They produced the show at Studio 54, and I mean, it was stunning production. I got to see some really neat people in it as well. I got to see Brooke Shields, who I thought was going to be just abysmal as Sally Bowles. She was riveting.
Okay.
I got to see Neil Patrick Harris before
Before
Harris
he broke.
became himself. The only thing that anybody really knew him from was Doogie Howser at that point. And it was a bizarro moment when he first stepped out and, he's, all in this very white face and his nipples are beaming and he's wearing these suspenders and, combat boots. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, Doogie, what did you just do to yourself? But that being said, I got to see the show several times and I fell in love with the concept of the show. And the only thing, and I'm such a jerk because I'm going to be like, oh, they totally missed the mark on this. But
that's fine.
The thing that always makes me a little batty with this production is you're in World War II Berlin, supposedly in this really seedy underground club. And the first thing that you see are these big crazy lights. And to me, I just go, where would that come from?
Yeah.
And then you see all of these really, really stunningly gorgeous girls that there was nothing wrong with them to stare at, but then sitting there pondering about it a little bit, it's like, would these be the girls, like model-esque girls?
Yeah.
And it's like, would these really be the girls that would end up in this club performing? And it's, for these girls, for me, as a director going into the show right now, these girls have had really, really hard lives, and this is where they've ended up.
Yeah.
Not that they've chosen to go and be this, beautiful dancer in this glitzy club. So I guess that's where I'm at a little bit of a difference with how I'm seeing this show. We're doing this show, not to be cliche with myself, but we're doing it very bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually stripping it down to just piano and percussion, which I'm very happy about. Nick Warner is my music director for this production, and Kat Howard is my choreographer, who I think I said that before. They both have just so much to offer for this production. And the way that I'm staging the whole thing is that, again, the audience is going to be very much intertwined with the cast. So we're sort of doing it in the round, and the cast will never really leave the stage. So almost as if they're playing some of our set dressing.
Okay.
Which I think should be very, very neat. And a little different, and I'm hoping that it all plays out that it makes people quite a bit uncomfortable. My big thing, you were saying that there didn't seem to be a real through line for the kind of productions that I do. And I think the only thing that I can say about that to bring any sort of, well, no, this is how I go about choosing productions, that myself and my ensemble goes about choosing productions, is the idea that I want you to leave a show and be thinking about what you just saw. There's definitely, I was having a lovely conversation with Sean Deffley a few days ago about what we love about going to see shows, and his idea and mine they couldn't be further from each other, and I love that. He's such a brilliant friend of mine, but he said, I love leaving a musical and humming the songs. I said, I love leaving a show feeling like I've almost been punched in the gut. Like, what is it that I just experienced? And that's what I try and do, with exception to the reviews that we do, really with any of the shows that I've produced, is I want you to leave thinking about something that you wouldn't have come into the space thinking about. And I think we've been pretty successful with that.
Definitely.
So hopefully we can keep on that.
That's so cool. That is a nice through line.
Theater that makes you think.
That's what it's there for, right?
I think so. We're all screwed up. We can't really afford therapy, so why not spend a couple of bucks on a ticket?
You watch other people go through it.
Yeah, hey.
Caitlin, it has been so nice sitting down to talk to you.
It's always wonderful sitting down and talking with you.
Where can our listeners find you? And then if you would like to reiterate your notifications for auditions.
Okay. So as of now, please go and find us on Facebook and give us a like. It's the Bare Bones, bare as in naked, not as in gur. So Bare Bones Theatre Ensemble. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. As far as the next production, so Cabaret, the dance workshop. And frankly, even if you don't want to audition for the show and you just want a cool dance class, you can come on out to that too. Is this Sunday, which is the 12th of June. And then our auditions are the last Sunday and Monday of June. All of these things are taking place at Fed Live, which is the second floor of the Federal Tap House on 2nd Street in Harrisburg at 7 o'clock. For auditions, come be prepared to sing a song with some sheet music, and we're going to make you dance a bunch and maybe have you read some stuff. But beyond that, I couldn't give a shit about a resume. And that's something that I will always stand by. I don't care what people have ever done before. And that seems to be a little bit of a different thing for this area too. But yeah, please come out and audition for our shows, or come out and see our shows. It's always a good time. And again, you hate it, have a couple of drinks.
There you go.
It always works out. Yeah.
There you have it, folks. Look for Cabaret upcoming, and then look in the link for this show, and we'll provide a link to the Bare Bones Theatre Ensemble's pages.
Thanks, Jeremy.
No problem. Thank you, Caitlin.
Love you, bud.